It's getting late, darling.
Yeah, I know, honey. I'm almost done with this. If forensics needs to test anything else, all the poisonous plants are labeled.
Sometimes I worry about you.
I promise not to work too hard. How's the case going?
Well, the death of your coworker, John, has turned some heads as to why people are studying poisonous plants and why there's a poisonous garden.
I assume that it would.
I mean, when we first met, I thought it was a bit odd.
And then I reminded you that your job deals with dead people.
I thought it was a pretty fair argument.
People push away things that they don't understand. But I understand people's concerns.
I understand that as well, which is why I have questions about the safety procedures.
What do you mean?
I mean, walk me through your procedures.
Part of the reasons we study poisons is to save people, so people understand what's poisonous and what's not.
That is a very noble thing, but I need to know the day-to-day stuff in order to understand what occurred.
It can also be used for cancer research, but it's not a good idea to touch it with your bare hands.
You always wear gloves?
Yes, honey, I always wear my gloves.
Always?
Yes, always. Plus, it's just good gardening etiquette.
Promise me you always wear gloves.
I promise I always wear my gloves.
Okay. What next?
Well, that depends on what we're doing.
Let's say that as a scientist you would want to explain to me why the rosary pea is deadly. Well, how would you explain it to me?
Follow me. It's a shame. His wife was really nice. If you want to test if a plant is poisonous or not, you should first smell it.
Okay.
If it has an odor, that's usually not a good sign. You can also put it against your skin for a couple hours to see if a rash develops.
How often do you do this?
Often enough. Why? I'm very careful, okay? You can also put it up to your lips to see if there's any unpleasant feelings.
Such as?
Itching or burning. If there isn't, chew it for a bit. If it tastes bitter, spit it out and wash your mouth out immediately.
You kissed me with that mouth?
No, I said I had a deadly kiss. Speaking of...
Later, we have to focus.
You're not going to have me try the rosary, are you? I promise it's been tested loads of times. It is poisonous.
So heavily researched?
Yes, very much so.
So somebody who works in this lab should know that it was poisonous?
Yes, without a doubt. Also, it is clearly labeled.
Does everybody in this lab have access to this plant?
Technically, yes, but we only allow a few people each year to work with it.
Interesting. Do you work with it?
Really?
I have to make sure there's no conflict of interest.
No, I don't work with it. Everyone that's supposed to have access to it is on a roster.
Could you get it for me?
Sure.
So the roster was in the victim's workspace?
John was in charge of administering who used it.
Love, if you ever feel like someone here was a threat to you, you would tell me, right?
I promise.
Good. Now, do you know of any threats to John?
No, unless you count the students that had too many late absences.
Speaking of which, looks like quite a few have come by to pay their respects. Considering he had the most absences out of any professor in this list, it's quite interesting, don't you think?
People like to keep up with appearances. To be honest, he was kind of a loner. Could he have possibly killed himself?
Amelia.
He was going to invite us over for dinner, and you know, people get remorseful before they Well,
What makes you think he killed himself?
he was a grumpy man, and especially after his wife died.
Honey, look at me. Do you really believe that's a possibility?
Yeah.
Good.
What makes that good?
It means you don't know how he died.
Again, why is that good?
It officially means you're not a suspect.
Did you really think I could have killed him?
No, of course not. But I wouldn't be a good detective if I didn't cross up all my boxes.
I see.
Do you want to answer my first question?
Which was?
Any known threats to John? Or victim?
No, I could be doing other things with my time.
Honey, could you please answer a question so we could go home, have dinner, cuddle a little?
Fine. Everyone found him annoying.
Which way?
Well, he made a couple of comments that made people uncomfortable.
Oh wait, I think you told me about him. Is he the guy that will joke about people being stupid enough to kill themselves with those plans?
That's the one.
Well, that's the motive. Do you know if anybody in this roster felt bullied by him?
I'm not very close with anyone on that roster, so I wouldn't know. How did he die?
Well, we think someone gave him one of those berries in a sort of tea. We have talked to his assistant so far. She just gave us a good alibi.
You know, there is one person that I know likes to bag their own tea that's on there. I think Shannon.
Were Shannon and I here around 2 last Friday?
No, I think they were.
I should talk to them.
She's on the case.
Stand back and don't move.
I didn't do it, I swear.
Then put down the knife and come down to the station so we can talk about it.
I mean, I did, but I didn't. He was gonna poison everyone. He was gonna poison them. And I thought that Amelia figured out what I had done, so I
What are you talking about?
thought what we were doing was a waste, especially after his wife died.
So that's why the guards was feeling so weird.
You were next, Amelia. You were so far along in your research, but you were so smart that I thought you had figured it out. So when I heard that Brianna was on the case, I thought you were gonna tell her everything.
I thought he was turning over a new leaf. I guess he was doing so in a little sense.
A weapon that whole time. I love that pen. It's like something out of a movie.
Yeah, me too.
Way to knock that one out, honey.
Oh dear.
Well, I guess I need new coworkers. And a new lab.
Agreed.
I love you.
Love you too.